Alright, so we're back on the Mustang again. I've gotten this side's camshaft changed, this side's exhaust manifold changed to a long tube header. Got the valve cover back on already. So I'm on the other side, on the passenger side, starting on it. This is the harder side, in my opinion, for the exhaust manifold. Mainly because you got the steering intermediate shaft in the way, and there's not really a whole lot of room. On the other side, the engine mount is harder to get off than this side is. You've got 4 normal bolts on this side. On the passenger side, you have 1 bolt, 2 studs, 1 nut, and then another bolt. This one here, this part holds the engine mount, this part holds the ground. You would think that Ford would have put the ground in a better place instead of putting it on the engine mount, but it is what it is. So on this side, in order to get the exhaust manifold out, the engine mount has to come off. I mean, it doesn't necessarily have to, but it makes it a lot easier to get out of there. You take the nut off the mount, which is there. It is a 15 millimeter. And then you take the bolts off the side of the block. You can't see the side of the block from here, but you can definitely see it from underneath. They're 13 millimeter. This one here again is a 15 millimeter. I did use my Cornwell swivel sockets and was able to get it off. There's just enough room to fit this on there with maybe that much clearance on it. Thankfully, they're not crazy tight. And nothing on this thing is crazy tight, except for the exhaust manifold bolts. So if you're able to get the stud and the nut out, that's perfect, because everything's out of the way then. If you're not able to get it out, this is a 5 millimeter. I know online they show that they're like a 5.5 millimeter or a T whatever inverted torques. This one's not. So this side has changed. There is 2 slots cut on the bottom side at the back. Absolutely put these in first, because once you get this on, you can't get into here. You can barely get into here. So you want to leave just a little bit more than this spacing on the flange. Make sure your gasket is in there, and then slide this in from the bottom side. I think on the passenger side you can actually do it from the top side. Yeah, you'll be able to do this one from the top side, but the driver's side, it wasn't possible. This section right here is way too big to allow it to fit through there, simply because the subframe bolts and brackets in the way. But you want to put these 2 bolts here in with the exhaust gasket. Slide this in. You may have to have some help. I had to have some help with the driver's side, but I think I can do the passenger side myself. You'll have to move the header back and forth just a little bit, move it up and down and all that to be able to get the top bolt started. Then these 2 right here are fairly straightforward. They're decently easy. The driver's side, there's plenty of space in this groove here between the first 2 cylinders to be able to put the electric ratchet in that I have, which is a quarter drive. This is exactly what I used for the driver's side. I actually used this on all of the top bolts, and then 2 of the bottom bolts. The very front one wasn't exactly the easiest to get to, but if you move the coolant hose out of the way, you can get in there. Let me see if I can show you real quick. You can tell the difference in spacing here as opposed to the other one. There's not a lot of room. So you can move this lower radiator hose forward, forcing it forward, of course. And then you can put the socket down in there on. See, I may be able to show it, I don't know. Turn the flashlight on. You can't see it in there. You can see the top one. It's right under the valve cover bolt there. You can't see the bottom one at this angle, but you can see it once you get the ratchet down in there. Also, this side of the engine would be up to where you can fully access everything on this side. On this side here, using a battery as a step stool because I don't want to bring that over here and not have enough space to be able to step up and down on it. I've gotten all the top bolts out. I actually did that a few days ago. Now I'm working on the bottom. The stud is in on the front, and the stud and the nut is in on the third cylinder back here. I haven't gotten it off yet. I stopped yesterday because it was so late whenever I got done working on another vehicle that I didn't have a chance to get back to this one and finish. Once I'm done with everything, I'll go over all of the parts that I've put on, clean it up with brake parts cleaner and a rag, get all the moisture out of it. We'll likely do an oil change. And then this thing should be good to rip. I have to put a cross pipe in after the guy brings the O2 extensions. This is the downstream for this particular engine. This side right here had an O2 sensor at the beginning of it. This is the driver's side, so there's an O2 sensor here. But I don't know if you saw on the header, they're way back over in here on both sides. So you have to have an extension for the upstreams, but you don't have to have one for the downstreams. They're supposed to be in the exact place that the factory location would be. This section here is shorter than the factory exhaust. Maybe. I don't think it actually is, but we'll cross that bridge when we get to it. I actually think the downstream O2 sensors are probably going to be deleted. I'll see when I plug it all in. The kid was supposed to have gotten 2 sets of extensions, so we'll see if he actually did that. Anyways, the camshaft was fairly straightforward to change. You cannot reuse the center bolts because they're torque to yield. There's a special tool to be able to take the camshaft out. It's in my trailer. To take the camshaft out without the chain dropping off the crankshaft. I've not fully rotated this engine over, which you can see by my mark there that it's not dead on yet. I only just now started rotating it. Put the cam back in the exact same place that it was. This will have to have a tune. Thankfully, the kid brought a tuner with him. I'll be able to set the tune on it before starting it up. I will take a video of the first start after all of this is installed, which should be by lunchtime today or slightly later.